Is Moon Knight losing his mind? I don't know, but Hollywood sure is. Paramount's Halo series is upon us, and one of the real last movie stars has said yippee-ki-yay for the last time. That's right, 918ers. It's Thursday, and we're going to talk about all this and maybe some more. I'm your host, the Geek Boy, and with me tonight is the man of the Microsoft cloth. That's right, the Reverend IT Geek is here. The magnificent Goldar, the gamer with the golden throat, is in the house, and joining us live from iStation 918, Mr. Narwhal is with us, and this is another episode of this fantastic week. I want to thank everyone who has chosen to burn a little screen time with us tonight. And we ask that if you enjoy the show, if you like what you see, please leave a like and share this video all around the book faces, because that's how we get our numbers up. That's how we get more people to find us. And if you're not already following us on Facebook, please consider doing so. And if you're so inclined, please jump over to our YouTube page and like and subscribe to it as well. We're eventually going to be moving all of our primary focus over there in the coming months. We're not sure when, but eventually that will be the best place to catch our live content. With that, I'm going to check in with our illustrious panel. Hello, gentlemen. How are we doing tonight?
Good evening.
Good.
Goldar, how's it going with you?
It's going fantastic. Just filming some episodes of Fanboys Nightcrawlers. I'm actually 8 to 10 episodes ahead now. Finally, in my recording.
Wow.
No issues. No issues. So now I should be able to get those posted right on time now. Last we left off, Deacon was basically trying to track down Lisa, but he wasn't able to find her. But I fought one of my first hordes in this town, and well, they ate my lunch pretty much every time. I didn't have enough firepower.
Did you intentionally try that with the firepower you had? Because I know you talked in the past how you were talking about needing to beef your firepower up. So did you think you were ready, or basically you just stumbled into an area by accident and basically found out, yep, my shit ain't ready?
Pretty much. Like I was in this town at night, and then I saw a giant horde walking past a gas station, and there was a big 18-wheeler that was,
which is not something you normally see in a small town,
right? And there was a big 18-wheeler that was a gasoline truck, and I'm like, oh, I could probably blow that up, because there's certain things in the game that are like fuel oriented tanks that you can blow up for situations like that. And I fired my gun at it, and it didn't blow up, and they just ate me. So I was like, well, that didn't work. And I clearly did. And I tried multiple times. I cut out some of the failed attempts in there to kind of shorten the length of the video. Yep. But there were many failed attempts to try to just defeat this herd, and it didn't work.
Now, is this one dropped yet, or is this going to be the next one that drops, or is that a ways away?
Oh no, this one was the one I dropped last weekend.
Oh, okay. I haven't got a chance to watch it yet, but yeah.
Yeah. So it didn't quite work out. But we are also picking up with his Deacon's friend Boozer is still suffering from his infected, burned arm. So now he's
tough.
Yeah. Now he's met up with Schizo, one of the guys from the new camp that they took Boozer to get medical attention. They've come up with an idea for him to get antibiotics, but it requires him going into a territory occupied solely by Rippers. So it's going to be a difficult task. Just to kind of give a preview, there is a boss fight in the next episode. And,
great.
And I get some new hardware as well. So, and I kept it all the way until the point where I could buy one on my own. So it was well worth it.
Now, I want to say, we've had I don't want to get too inside baseball here. We've had a little bit of a family emergency this last week. I don't want to hear any more jokes about cutting arms off. Okay. I don't want to hear any of that kind of stuff going on. None of that stuff. So, Mr. Narwhal, yes, what's the temperature up there at iStation? Are we still iStation 918, or are we back to 918 Northern Command Post?
This is still the iStation. We are currently hovering right around 32 degrees Fahrenheit. A little bit of ice and snow out there, but all things considered, it's not too bad. In fact, it's a great day to stay inside to watch some fanny-risen flicks.
I knew you were going to get us around to that somehow. What do we got coming? What do we got loaded up in the drive this week?
So this week is a film that was introduced to me by the comedian Patton Oswalt in one of his comedy sketches that he did back in 2007. I am just going to give you the name and watch your jaws drop. Ladies and gentlemen, we are watching Deathbed, The Bed That Eats. This is another one of those legendary lost films. The guy who directed it was a guy by the name of George Barry. He made it back in 1977 for about $30,000.
I thought you were going to say $30.
No, but he originally had found a distributor that was willing to distribute his film if he would pay an additional $3,000 to have end credits tacked onto his film, and he didn't have the money. So he took his film and basically put it in the box and forgot about it for umpteen years. But when he had sent off the film to the distributor to be viewed, apparently the distributor made a little copy of it, and some bootlegs got out. And in 2003, the director realized my film is out there and people are watching it. So he went out and did a official release of it, and it is something to be seen. Just check out the trailer here and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
All right, let's watch this trailer. Well, I mean, there's not much of a trailer to that, but I mean, it kind of says it all right there, doesn't it?
You don't need that much of a trailer for this film. Let me tell you. And in fact, that's one that I found out there. I actually don't think there was ever an official trailer for this, since it was never officially released.
Right.
But this one's an odd one. This one's an odd one.
Yeah.
So, what's the runtime on it? Just out of curiosity.
The runtime on this is, I want to say, just a little over an hour.
Okay. Start saying. Out of all the ones he's shown us, there doesn't seem to be much of a plot here. So, but I think everyone should still check it out just to see what the hell's going on.
Oh, I'm definitely going to check this out.
So, I guess I got
it eats people.
People.
That's all you need.
I know.
You hit oil. Stop drilling.
Exactly.
I mean, this is like a Saturday Night Live sketch. I mean,
pretty much.
Excuse me. Back to Saturday Night Live.
Totally surreal. The film sort of plays like a student film, art house dream film. So don't expect a lot of heavy plot. It is also a comedy, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. So, do we see the origin of the deathbed? Do we know,
what's its motivation?
Yeah,
we actually do find out about the motivation of the deathbed. Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Oh man, does it meet the what is it? Meet the street from what is it? Crap. From the one superhero group. It's on freaking a Doom Patrol. Do you guys remember Doom Patrol in the street? I can't remember its name.
That was a dig deep, dude.
that one, dude. I was racking my brain trying to remember it and everything like that. So,
well, just think about it. If you have like Jason or Freddy, they have the advantages of things like feet. So
hey, wait a minute. A bed has feet. There's a headboard. There's
victims.
There's a footboard. It's got sides.
Don't spoil it for me. I want to see how this all works. Always spoil stuff. Always.
Oh my god. So again, what's the name?
Tonight at 10 o'clock on our YouTube page.
and the title is Deathbed, the bed that eats.
It's worth subscribing to the YouTube channel just for that, if nothing
I
else,
think so.
folks.
Yes, it
I
is.
think so. I think we found our niche, if you will.
Yeah.
on this.
It's one of those things that reminds me of rubber.
Very much in that vein, yes.
Oh
Very
my
much
God.
in that.
Okay, well, I don't know how I'm going to top that.
I don't know how either, bro. I mean, at this point, I think we've hit our highlight. I mean,
I know.
that's,
Well, thanks
so,
everybody for tuning in.
yeah. Austin's quick inventory
Yeah.
of our chat room. We got Austin Thomas. He's watching the Viking Slayer. And then I saw someone post, welcome, Mickey. I don't see who
There
that
is
so-
a new person, Mickey Oz is watching. I'm not
hey.
familiar with that person, but they are watching. So glad they are here. And
Love
according to this, we've got a few other people in the chat. I just can't see who they are.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I that's so for years
Frustrating, but that's okay.
as we have tried to figure out this, for 5 seasons now, for some
Yep.
reason we can't
Yep.
always see everybody that's watching. It's very infuriating. So-
Someone told me it has to do with the privacy settings on their profile page.
oh, that would
So,
make
but I don't know if that's true or not.
I know.
But
So.
anyway,
But anyway, if you want to
Regardless-
call it out, if you want to call out on the show,
Yeah.
unhide yourself from us, and
That's
and
right.
then you can hide yourself after the show. So
but regardless, we welcome everyone who's here, and I'm
Okay.
going to tell you about our last little piece of plugged programming. That's tomorrow night is a new episode of.
Sci-Fi Friday.
That's right, Rev. It's Sci-Fi Friday, and it's April Fool's Day this week. And what an appropriate episode to air on April Fool's Day. So a character we haven't seen in a while. I'm going to keep this as spoiler-free as I can. A character we haven't seen in a while returns to the station, convinced that there is a traitor on board. And as a result, we find out that one of our main characters has been keeping a secret. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
What? On
Except-
Babylon 5, people keep secrets.
Yes,
Ne-
all the time.
Never in an episode I've ever seen.
I know. Well, this is the April Fool's episode, so there you go.
Right. Exactly.
But now that's all I'm going to say. Except we will have a special guest with us. The B5 Babe returns because this is another storyline I have to see her reaction to, just to know how she feels about certain things on this show. I can't wait to see her face. Now next week, I think Goldar is going to be on with us and we may have some other folks as well, don't know, but Goldar for sure is going to be here as the Narn Centauri War reaches its climax, but I am getting a little ahead of myself. Let's get back to this show tonight. This is not the show I wanted to do this week. I'm just going to tell you, I wanted to maybe talk about Moon Knight, maybe do a little impromptu Lost City review, that just a lot of light stuff going on. Turns out, looks like we're going to have to start planning our next Real Love episode because there's no RIP for this week, but for my generation, this is the closest thing to it. We got an announcement, I believe it was yesterday. Bruce Willis is hanging it up after a long and storied career due to a medical diagnosis of aphasia. For those who don't know, it's basically a brain disorder that causes language and motor skill problems. Matter of fact, his daughter posted something that I'm going to read the statement that she tweeted out. By the way, it's got a picture, one of my favorite pictures of Bruce with his sunglasses down around his nose, giving that smirk that was the smirk that sold 1 million Bartles and James or million Seagram's bottles. I'm sorry. But anyway,
it's a smirk that you've tried to perfect many times over.
I got pretty close to it. I don't know that I ever made it, but I got pretty close to it. So this is the quote from his daughter, Rumor. To Bruce's amazing supporters, as a family, we wanted to share that our beloved Bruce has been experiencing some health issues and has recently been diagnosed with aphasia, which is impacting his cognitive abilities. As a result of this, and with much consideration, Bruce is stepping away from the career that has meant so much to him. This is a really challenging time for our family, and we are so appreciative of your continued love, compassion, and support. We're moving through this as a strong family unit and wanted to bring his fans in because we know how much he means to you as you do to him. As Bruce always says, live it up. And together we plan to do just that. Love, Emma, Demi, Rumor, Scout, Tallulah, Mabel, and Evelyn. So, if there was something besides Star Trek and Star Wars that shaped me growing up, it was Miami Vice and moonlighting. I thought Sonny Crockett was cool, but I wanted to be David Addison, y'all. His quick wit, his awesome suit, his deep soul really spoke to me.
Really, really. The guy, you say that, and I'm the guy that went in and tried to like get the haircut. Like, Bruce Willis from Moonlight? No. I'm like, let's try it anyway. Worst decision I ever made. By God, that's how bad I wanted to be Bruce Willis. I was like, screw it. I know you said you don't know, but I can talk you through this. It's not hard, right? Yeah, it didn't go well, people. It did not go well. But you know what? That's the influence he had of me at that time as well.
If I'd been there was the argument that if I'd been a better friend, I said, no, let's not do this now. Let's not do this now.
That's true. That's true. A better friend would have tried to wave me off. But
you
just said, I'm just glad we didn't have cell phones back there, because that shit would have been all over the internet. Like, yeah, buddy, do that.
Yeah, it was all over the school the next day. As you went from class to class.
Class to class. And actually, it was actually in the yearbook, because it was a haircut I got right before we did our junior pictures, I believe.
Yes, it was.
So it's in a yearbook.
Yep.
You ropers out there that were there from through that year, it's immortalized in that book.
For those of you that still have a copy that he hasn't found and burned. But yeah, huge Moonlighting fans, and then Bruce moved on to movies, as a lot of stars do. Things like Blind Date and Sunset, they were fine, but in a way it was almost like the directors didn't know what to do with him. And then kind of like Robin Williams. I mean, not that they're anything alike, but he was that's another talent that people kind of struggle to figure out. Okay, then we got this great talent, what do we do with it? Then he made what I like to call the mother of all Christmas movies.
Yes, and it is a Christmas, people.
That's right.
It is a Christmas movie, people.
And a mega star was born. Now, like all actors, not everything he did landed. Right. And he had quite a tumultuous personal life at times, and there were even hints that he might have been a little difficult to work with. But every single one of us saw a little bit of ourselves in the characters that he chose to portray. So I'm going to have everybody say their favorite Bruce Willis film that's not Die Hard, but let's get some thoughts from everybody else on the show tonight.
You want to go first? Narwhal, shoot it out.
Yeah, I'll go first. So, my favorite non-Die Hard Bruce Willis film, I have two really, but I'll just talk about the one that I'm pretty sure that no one else is going to talk about on this panel. And that's Fifth Element. I very much enjoyed Fifth Element. It was, for its time, and even now, it was a revolutionary science fiction film. From Luc Besson, and he was Bruce Willis in the film, but it was such a completely different take on what science fiction could be. They had visuals and characters in that film that we had never seen and never imagined before. He has so many of his iconic lines, from that film, like no, I'm a meat popsicle, and just so many of the things that he did and said in that movie. That's one that I loved when it first came out, and my love for that film has grown over the years.
I'm gonna chime in about that. I did not love that movie when it first came out. I didn't hate it. None of it had to do with Bruce Willis, though. I thought it had tone issues, and I've spoken many times on this show about how much of a stickler I am for tone. But I've revisited.
He has a toner for tone, people. He has a toner for tone.
Yeah, I've revisited it several times. I know Bruce Starr, who's joined us a few times, it is probably one of his favorite Bruce Willis films, also. And I like it more and more every time I see it. It's time to revisit it again. So thank you, Mr. Narwhal, for sharing that. Goldar, what about you?
I have two films as well. I was originally going to say The Fifth Element, but I really much enjoyed Armageddon more, just because of how ridiculous the movie is. But it's just fun. Like, it's really fun. It's got a great cast. Had a great soundtrack. It's one of those like two what is it, 2.5 hours, 3 hours? Mm-hmm. It's one of those 2.5 hour movies that's like really good pacing, pacing. Like, you can sit back and watch that over and over again, and it's like, oh, Armageddon's on. Let me sit down and watch this. It's not like some of the other 2.5, 3 hour movies where you're like, well, you don't get one watch out of me. Like, I got other stuff to do on a Sunday. um, but my other favorite Bruce Willis movie is Sin City.
I forget about Sin City. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I love the way that movie was shot and edited. Just the unique and stark black and white, and the storytelling. I thought it was amazing. So I love that movie.
Okay. Oh, it looks like I'll tell you what, let's get to the Reverend here. What's your favorite non-Die Hard Bruce Willis film?
Well, let's catch up on the board real quick.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if we wanted you to catch up on the board.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say Sprout's in. Laura St. Clair Van Poole is watching.
Welcome, everyone.
Yep, and then Sprout just Armageddon is a guilty pleasure, and I thought that was the only reason just to throw that in there, just because he mentions the two movies we've already mentioned. It sucks, but you can't not watch it. Fifth Element and 12 Monkeys are my favorites of his. So, yep, 12 Monkeys was definitely a fun one to watch. But and he came back with Pulp Fiction and Sin City on another level.
Yeah.
There's so many that I enjoy. A fun one I like, it's just a guilty pleasure, and that's Hudson Hawk.
Damn it, I knew you were going to say that.
Dude, I love that movie like nobody's business. I mean, just the very concept of it, and then of course the first crime scene where they're swinging on a star. Swinging on a star. Man, I've even looked for that particular version of that song with him and Danny singing it together, and it's just a fun movie. I mean, it is not a brain teaser to anyone. I mean, come on, there is no thought-provoking storyline in that. It is a guilty pleasure, fun one to watch. If we kind of talked about, you like you said, everyone's kind of got two. I mean, the next one I'd have to bring up, and maybe I'm still in your thunder there, Geek Boy, is just the Sixth Sense. That's the next one. I enjoyed so much with him in it and everything. But I literally could go on all night trying to name all the movies I've enjoyed.
Oh my gosh! So I kind of cheated a little bit, because I knew someone was going to say Fifth Element.
Yeah,
I knew I figured you were going to say Hudson Hawk, I knew that someone was going to talk about Armageddon. Sprout brought up 12 Monkeys. On and on and on, and all these are very valid. I mean, I want to say something about Hudson Hawk. That was another one when I saw it in the theater. I'm like, okay, this is different.
Yeah.
That's one of Turtle Gal's all-time favorites, right? Like that's her jam. And every time I watch it, all the things that I found off-putting in it were because it hadn't caught up to modern filmmaking. You watch this thing like, you know what? In the light of current filmmaking trends and techniques, this movie's right on point. I mean, maybe not right on point. It's not perfect, but I also do think it gets a little bit more maligned than it deserves to be. 12 Monkeys is a freaking masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
Armageddon, who doesn't freaking like Armageddon? My God, Bruce Willis and Michael Bay and Ben Affleck in a movie together where they land on a freaking asteroid to save the planet. Oh my God. And like Goldar says, it never gets old. No. And the science is better than Star Trek Discovery. I mean, what more can you ask for in this show?
You always got to find that dig against Star Trek Discovery.
You didn't think I was going to do it, but I did it. But I'm going to say I'm going to cheat, okay? Because you guys have already listed so many of my favorite Bruce Willis movies. I mean, between the chat, like Lori Van Poole, The Kid. Who doesn't love The Kid? Yep. Something I always thought was neat about Bruce too, and all these movies that we've talked about, he didn't mind being the second fiddle, right? Like, I would argue he's not the star of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know. Pulp Fiction does have a star, but I mean,
it's John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson. Those are the true stars of that movie.
I would argue he may not be the star of Sin City. I don't know, but as his career, matured, and as he matured, he wasn't above taking on bit parts or because he knew that if it was a project that he liked, he knew if he put his name on the moniker, it would get more attention. Like I said, not everything he did land, but let me tell you something, a role that he did that was the first thing that I ever got him noticed. And that was, I think it was season 1, episode 8 of Miami Vice, an episode called No Exit. That episode, it was the turning point for the show. As I said, I love moonlighting, love Miami Vice. This to me is like like a sandwich with an ice cream or a chocolate fudge sundae with an ice cream sandwich stuck in the middle of it. Right? It's a bit of an irony that one of the first things that got him noticed was this. But this episode is so freaking good. I mean, it was a turning point for the show. It was the first segment where the show kind of finally realized what it wanted to be. I mean, Michael Mann had taken over as showrunner, and he kind of honed in on all the things that had worked, and he was jettisoning the things from the first few episodes that didn't. It's an excellent episode, anchored by, guess what, kids? A Phil Collins song. But Bruce Willis.
The trifecta for you.
Yeah.
For you.
Trifecta, Miami Vice with Bruce Willis and a Phil Collins song.
Sorry to break your stride and everything, but did you guys hear the announcement that basically Phil Collins, he ended his final tour? He had his last concert, I believe it was either this week or last week.
His final tour.
I'm quite sure. I mean,
we for Genesis. He may still do an occasional.
Right. But yeah, the Genesis tour that basically he started back in 2019, 2020. They had to postpone, put on hold until the pandemic. Basically, he finished that tour this week, I believe it was, and all that stuff. So, but anyway, sorry to break your stride, but that was kind of a bit of news that was interesting. And
no, that's fine.
Go ahead.
But anyway, he brings this. Bruce Willis brings this very sort of sinister charm and smarm to this abusive husband who's also an international arms dealer. So I encourage anyone who's a fan of Bruce Willis, anyone who's a fan of Miami Vice, to check it out. I don't know where Miami Vice is streaming right now. Shame on Peacock for not being the home of that right now. But anyone who's a fan, check it out. It is well worth the watch.
So Sprout put something in the comments here, and this would be a good challenge here, I think. So he said, first off, he said, you guys love Hudson Hawk more than Bruce Willis does. But he says
he's probably not wrong.
Yeah, I haven't seen a bad Willis flick. He may still sing, but never play on an instrument again. So I challenge everyone. So can you think of a Bruce Willis movie that you're like, bless his heart? I mean, I'm glad you're in it, but this movie's just a big turd.
Oh man.
So Narwhal, let's go with you first. You're the first one to throw that hand up.
The Player.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he was in The Player. Also Bonfire of the Vanities.
That's the one I was going to go
for.
That was brutal.
He did one called
Go ahead.
I was going to say he did one called Breach in 2020. That movie was garbage.
I was saying, how was that? I never saw it.
It is so bad. So bad. I was like, Bruce Willis is in this? Like, does he have tax problems like Wesley Snipes or Nicolas Cage? Like, nobody in their right mind would sign on for this movie. It's that bad.
Oh man. Okay, so I'll go ahead.
I was going to say, what do you got, Geek Boy? Could you?
Well, okay, so there's a couple. There's a few that kind of slot into my guilty pleasure zone, like Striking Distance.
Oh yeah, that's a
good
and Boy Scout.
Do what?
The last well. Oh, that's another guilty pleasure. I love that movie.
There's one that God love it. I wanted to see this so bad, and man, it just it was made. It's a very 90s film. Okay, the 90s had a real fascination with like modern noir, serial killer films, that kind of thing. And this is one that I saw it and got real kind of hot and bothered with my partner at the time, but the movie's really not that great. That's called Color of Night.
I don't remember that one. I don't remember that one.
He plays a psychologist who basically starts falling for one of his patients, and she, of course, could be a serial killer. It was one of these movies that, it was made back in this time when it was very movie star driven. I mean, the cast is there Reuben Blades is in it, Leslie Ann Warren's in it, Lance Henriksen is in it. Scott Bakula's in it. I mean, it's the movie it's a serial killer movie. So you guys can imagine what you're dealing with. It cost $40 million to make, probably from paying all the talent, and it made $46.7 million.
So can someone look up Bonfire of the Vanities?
Yeah.
because I don't know how much that one was made, but talk about an all-star cast on that one. I mean, that had Tom Hanks, who I think the Melanie Griffith was in that one. Or
directed by Brian De Palma.
Palma, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, talk about an all-star cast.
Okay, you ready?
One. Yep.
Budget $47 million. Box office 15.6.
Woo!
I want to see the filmed but never published bonus features for this son of a bitch. I'm sure the stuff that went on behind the scenes, that if there was ever, I mean, there's probably, I think each decade has about 2 movies that are like, should be lessons to Hollywood of just productions that got totally out of control. And I think this is one of them. Would you agree with that, Narwhal?
Yeah, absolutely. This is one that was a legendary train wreck, pretty much right from the word go.
Yeah. But you know what's funny is that, and I don't remember what movie he was promoting, but Geek Boy, you were telling me that he was doing an interview, late night show one time, and they were asking him, about choosing movies and stuff. And it's always stuck with me. It's like, when an actor goes and chooses a movie, he never thinks like, I'll do this movie. No, they get invested in the script idea, and then they buy off, and then they get into it, and then things just don't start going well on it. And he's like, but you're already committed. So you know what? You know that this movie's going to be a turd, but you know what? You're going to make it the best damn turd you can.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't Bruce's words during the interview, but I mean, it's like they don't know they're in there making a turd, but they're they're shining the hell out of it.
Let's shine up that turd.
Exactly.
He's shined some turds, man.
He has. But I tell you, he's had, like I said, we've already said it. There's a lot of guilty pleasures he's provided us with, a lot of great movies provided us with. I do remember, and I may be wrong, I think the first movie he was ever truly in, and he was one of the jurors, and I believe it was with Paul Newman, and it was The Verdict. Does anyone?
No, I didn't know he was in that.
He's one of the jurors in there. It's like he has a split scene, he's just literally sitting in the jury box, and I don't think he has any dialogue or anything.
Courtroom observer.
Yep.
Oh, another movie that was not as successful. And my thing is, dude, how do you screw and this? He didn't do this.
Right.
But from a filmmaker, how do you screw up a G.I. Joe movie with Bruce Willis playing the original G.I. Joe, shooting guys with an M60 machine gun out the back of an El Camino? How do you screw that movie up? They did.
They did.
They
did.
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah.
Was it made by Sony?
No, that was made by the studio formerly known as Paramount. Wow.
I gotta say, in terms of like late stage Bruce Willis, I would say probably the last great film that he did is Red.
I totally forgot about Red. I love that.
Red is an awesome film. I think that's probably the last great film that he ever actually did.
I would agree. Red 2 certainly wasn't it.
Well, I mean, I enjoyed both of them, but Red was a great new concept idea and all that stuff. And talk about another all-star cast. Holy hell, Ellen Mirren, Morgan Freeman, John Malkovich. I mean, holy hell. Just phenomenal.
And very self-aware.
Carl Urban.
Yep. And that was kind of, that was interesting because that was at a time where Carl Urban's career in America was just starting to take off.
Mm-hmm.
He'd gotten noticed in Lord of the Rings, and then he'd been in that Vin Diesel movie that didn't quite land, even though I kind of like it, the Riddick thing.
The
Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah. I thought he was in that one.
Yeah, and then he was in there. I think he was seems in my brain he was in all those kind of real close together.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's we're gonna do a real love episode where we really take a deep dive in some of Bruce's greatest and maybe not so greatest hits. By the way, speaking of that, guys, many of you may not know that Bruce Willis did have a band. He loved to sing. You can see it in inklings of movies here and there. He's got he did 2 albums that I know of. One is The Return of Bruno, where he does his take on a lot of the Motown hits. But he's got another one that's harder to find. It's Bruce Willis and the Accelerators, and man, he's rocking it. I mean, it's a great rhythm and blues band, tearing it up with doing some blues and some good hard. It's great. You can probably find it on YouTube. or iTunes or whatever. But yeah, people don't forget he was also Bruno.
Oh, hey, I was just went to our clip and I totally forgot. He was in the Breakable and Glass and series as well. And I think that was all after Red, wasn't it? So
No, that was before.
Was it?
Unbreakable
Okay.
and stuff.
All right.
Unbreakable was before for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I just I didn't know if he finished that up with Glass, but I do have a question that I wanted to post panel before we go off, and then we can go to our next topic. But I don't know if you read or not, but last year basically he was in 7 movies that went straight to video, nothing on the big screen or everything. But
Right.
I was just wondering. I mean, we kind of heard rumors that when he negotiated contracts to do movies and stuff, like you got him for like 3 or 5 days, and that was it. And then basically he would come in, read his lines, do his parts, and then he would be gone. And then basically body doubles from behind would stand in. Do you think he felt the onset or knew the onset of this was, and just trying to cram as much work he could in just to get maybe a stockpile of cash that could sustain him through this? Or what are you guys' thoughts? Or do you think he was just doing the job?
I have some thoughts about that. If you guys don't mind if I go, we never know exactly what's going on, and Hollywood is a town that thrives on rumors, and of course Kevin Smith has been very vocal about how difficult he was to work with on, was it Cop Out?
Yeah.
I believe was the movie.
I thought I thought it was in the Die Hard movie that he was in.
No. I believe it was one that Kevin Smith actually directed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think they met and became friends there, and then, hey, let's make a movie together. And that was a bad idea.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
And again, I'm sure there's a great bonus feature shot on that'll never see the light of day too. But I had heard all this kind of this stuff too, and the word going around the town was, Bruce just doesn't want to work anymore. But you know what? I think you're right. I think maybe he knew this was coming on, because didn't Narwhal, didn't you say you saw an article where he'd been struggling with this for a few years?
Yeah, exactly. He a lot of the films that IT Geek is referring to, they're ones where they would hire him, just like with a lot of actors, who are sort of in their declining sunset years. They'll do a few days on a picture, just so the producers and directors can put his name on it to get butts and seats. But for a lot of the films that he's done over the past few years, there's been a lot of issues that he's had with those films. They've had to drastically scale back his parts, and from what I understand, even for the last couple of years, he's had somebody, one staff working for him, that would basically feed him his lines through an earpiece, because he was having such a hard time memorizing scripts. So yeah, this is something that he's been dealing with for quite some time, and it's just finally gotten to the point where he just can't do it anymore.
Wow.
Well, all I can say is Bruce, we appreciate everything that he's ever put out for us, and we've enjoyed all the time that we've had to get to watch him on the screen. Our thoughts and prayers go out to you, your family, and everyone as you traverse this difficult time. But we will always have these great movies to watch with you in mind, and really appreciate all of you giving us.
Yeah, Sprout says that he's got, I think he says 8 projects in various stages that we still have to look forward to come out. So we've got that. By the way, Lily Williamson is here. Hey, Lily, how you doing?
Hey, Willie.
So she's here tonight, and so just a reminder that the thought was, when Bruce was having trouble, he just doesn't want to work anymore. It turns out that we didn't know the whole story, which I think is important to remember as we go into our next shory.
Should I do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
That doesn't give you a clue what we're about to talk about, people.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
So yeah. So full disclosure, I haven't watched the Academy Awards or any award show for that matter, at least 15 years. I pretty much grew tired of the self-congratulatory virtue signaling circle jerk that they've all become. But I mean, just like, I think the last time I tuned in was to make sure see if Return of the King won Best Picture. So that gives you an idea of how long it's been. So at least 15 years, probably. Mr. Narwhal, I know you didn't watch this year as well, because but you're a regular viewer, but you didn't watch because there were several awards that are near and dear to you that kind of got short shift this year. And so and honestly, that's as good a reason to boycott one of these things as any. So you can imagine my surprise, shock, and sheer disappointment when I woke up on Monday to find the unedited clip of the slap heard around the world waiting for me in my inbox. I know. Rev, you're just going to show the clip behind. We're not going to play the clip with audio, are we? We might get deep.
I didn't download the clip because I didn't know. I didn't want. I'm trying to keep us from getting banned or anything like that. So I did not download the clip because I didn't know exactly.
That's okay.
Good idea.
So probably a good idea. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the.
I got pictures though. I got pictures.
Okay, yeah, we're going to talk about the slap heard around the world. And man, there's so much to say about this. I'm going to kick it off, and then I'm going to kind of let
Goldar. Did you get to see this, or how did you find out about it? Were you watching the show, or did you get the notice, kind of like what Geek Boy did?
No, I wasn't watching the show. I stopped watching award shows for rich people a long time ago, because it's just it's kind of a circle jerk. So
yeah.
But I was on Twitter that night, just because sometimes things do happen at those that might be kind of interesting topics for the show, and then I happened to see that clip and I thought, is this because nobody's watching the Oscars that they made up this skit? Like, is this like made up? Like, are we in the age of like meta internet where like things happen in real life and then like we have to guess if it's a joke or not? Like, it's not April Fool's yet. And then later on that night, I see that Will won the Academy Award, and he had tears in his eyes, and he, there was a quote that said, love will make you do crazy things. I was like, okay, well then that was real. But that's very interesting. This, very much reminded me of the instant in which Kanye rushed to the stage and took the microphone from Taylor Swift.
I bet Chris Rock wishes that's all he did.
I bet he wished that was all that happened.
And Ricky Gervais thank God I didn't take that gig.
right. But yeah, I saw it on Twitter, and then that's when I realized, oh, this is not a joke. Oh wow. Yep. Okay, well, I guess that happened.
Yep. So now, of course, there are some people that are believing that this was all staged. There's certain video clips that show that it looks like Chris turns before the slap even comes in. So, and you can even hear it in the audio that basically sounds like he hit the mic and not so much Chris's face, but depending on how it went through and all that stuff.
What do you think about that, Reverend? Do you think it was real, or do you think it was staged?
I think it was real. I mean, the sheer look of kind of like surprise and shock from Chris Rock. I mean, I like Chris Rock, but I don't think he's that good of an actor. So
I was going to say, because I had this in my notes to talk about this, and I had it on just so we didn't forget about it.
Yeah.
And I'm in the camp that it was real, and here's why. As you said, Chris Rock's reaction, if he was putting us on, he deserves an Oscar.
Yeah.
I mean, the way he struggled to get back on point and push on. By the way, Chris Rock, you are a freaking pro. You are a freaking pro for taking a slap from a grown-ass man on worldwide television, responding the way you did. I would not have responded that way. Okay. Big Willie might have kicked my ass that night, but he'd have to kick it every time he saw me for the rest of his life. Right. So, I mean, he did, he sat there and I mean, it got back on point. And the other thing is, the other reason I think it's real was now we'll say this kind of like Tarek. Goldar, pardon me.
Oh my God!
I just outed him.
The secrecy is gone.
Just blew the secret identity. Just blew his secret.
Just go up in a puff of smoke.
No, it's gonna be like 19 supervillains lined up outside your driveway, But anyway,
here's Goldar doing Geek Boy.
There you go. Yeah.
Keep my real name out your mouth, boy.
Okay, so that's a great.
was a good one.
That's a fantastic segue. Like Goldar, I thought, okay, this is a bit, right? This is a bit. But then when he sat down in his seat and started doing that, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this ain't a bit.
Yeah,
This ain't a bit.
if it was a bit, I mean, yeah, the cursing I don't think would have been there, and I mean, Will looked pissed on his face. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we've all seen what mad looks like on people, and that looked like mad.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the other thing. That's another reason why I don't think this was a stunt. Will had nothing to gain from a stunt like this.
Oh, he has everything to lose.
He has spent 30 plus years carefully managing his image.
Mhm.
Basically, he's one of the few Hollywood nice guys. It is gone in an instant. I mean, the only people that benefited from this was the Oscars and their ratings bump that they got for like 15 minutes.
And I want to unpack what you just said in here in a minute. But
okay.
Narwhal, you got any comments? Everything we kind of been, going around the table here, and want to give you an opportunity to chime in there a little bit.
Yeah, man. This just watching it and thinking about it just makes me sick. It really does. That literally nobody ever thought that this was a possibility, and especially from a celebrity that's sitting there pretty much in the front row. That's all of the producers and directors who was in the booth were like, okay, man, Will Smith's going up on stage. What's going on? Is this a bit? And it's like, oh, this ain't a bit. This is. But I do have to say that while obviously Will Smith is 100% in the wrong here, it's hard these days being a comedian, and the things that you say as a comedian, it's hard because you don't know at what point that line is crossed, right? You have, not only somebody like Chris Rock, but then you've got, people like, what's her face from Roseanne Barr, and other people, who have made jokes, like James Gunn, for example. They've made jokes, but they don't always necessarily know where that line is.
Well, you know what, and I've heard this a lot, and I know Goldar's is dying to jump in here. I've heard this a lot, but first of all, this is Chris Rock that we're talking about here. Anybody seen Chris Rock stand up? Okay. Everything he was throwing that night were lightweights. I mean, the stuff he said about Javier Bardem and his wife, that's pretty damn clever, actually. And there's been a lot of did he cross the line? Who cares? He's a comedian. I mean, basically,
there's also going to be a sense of you've got to accept it if you're coming to that, because you've seen it throughout the years. The Oscars are, if there's a comedian there, everybody in that damn audience is fair game, and if you're not ready to take a joke, it's
like the old Dean Martin celebrity roast. I mean, he's and that's the other thing. This is not some drunk at a bar lipping off to Jada. This is a professional comedian literally working. I mean, it'd be like me walking up to one of you guys at your job and say, "Did you send that email?" Yeah. Wow. I mean, really, and I'm sorry, every joke, unless it's why the chicken crossed the road, every joke on some level is offensive, unless it's a dad joke. I mean, every joke is about someone's wife, husband, mother, father, daughter, son.
Religion.
Every joke is about something, I mean, and like I say, for the ones that, and there's been a lot of things come out about Will and Jada's relationship and their marriage that they have put out themselves. If there were things, I mean, Chris Rock could have said about 25 other things, 10 of which are bubbling up in my mind that maybe could have deserved him a slap. I don't think that was one of them. I'm going to shut up and let Goldar go, or I'm going to keep going on all damn night.
So, I think the real question that we should probably ask, and I know this seems almost kind of silly, but I think we should really ask, like, is Will okay? Like,
absolutely, yeah.
Because, like, what did we just watch? Like,
I know.
Like, and if you really kind of think about it, like, just like you were saying, Geek Boy, Will Smith has carefully crafted a career over the last 30 years to not be offensive, from not cussing in his rap songs and talking about women and lewd acts and violence, being on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, being in all these popular movies where he hardly ever cusses and does anything risque.
Right.
And then we start getting into the late 2010s, and we have the Red Table Talk where we find out some really revealing things about their marriage, and then his memoir comes out where he talks about really, really dark things about his childhood and upbringing and his father and his relationship with other women prior to Jada. And then he opens up, about his weight gain and his desire to lose weight, and then we also see him make up with I believe her name was Janet Huber,
Right.
from
Aunt Viv.
yeah, the original Aunt Viv. Like, we're seeing him like really, really open up a lot with his personal life, and I think he's just in a very, very vulnerable stage right now.
Oh yeah.
That he took a joke that wasn't meant to be in malice as an act of malice, and he lashed out. And I think right now is a serious time where like his family needs to like really like check in on him and say, hey, Will, are you okay? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
like what happened there was not okay, but at the same time it's symptoms of somebody that's struggling and vulnerable right now. And on top of that too, like if you notice, like his last several movies over the last decade have just been worse and worse.
Right.
Like his popularity has kind of gone down.
Well, the sad thing was that the biggest hit he had going was Bad Boys 3. I mean, it was making it was proven, hey, there's still gas in this tank. And then it got shut down because of the pandemic. I mean, it made like 300 million worldwide. No, yeah. Was it three? It was making a lot. It was on the way to making a lot of bank for Sony. Maybe not 300 million. Sorry, I don't know where I got that number from. But then I saw it only cost like 70 million to make. So I mean, it was really in profitable territory, and it was.
Well, I think Bad Boys 4 was greenlit already, and everything.
Yeah, and so I mean, and I'm honestly, I got to say, I don't think it was as funny as the first two, but it had the best story of the three. I mean, it was a great movie, and I mean, I'm like, okay, we're on the verge of a Will Smith renaissance here, and so yeah, and let's not forget, I'm gonna kind of jump on what Goldar said a minute ago. That night at the awards, again, there were a lot of jokes from the girls on stage about Will and Jay. I didn't see it all, but I guess they did a whole bit where he came up on stage and the girl said something, said, well, we were only going to pick single men, but Jada said you were okay. Like, okay, this guy's been between the things that have come out and like Goldar said, a lot of his films have not hit like Gemini Man. That didn't hit like anybody thought it would, And there's reasons for that. But anyway, my thing is, this guy is basically, and I'm sorry, Will, been emasculated in front of the world, and maybe he just had one too many. Now, again, regardless of all that, that just, okay, here's my thing. Will Smith has a huge footprint around the world. He has a huge fan, and you just showed every one of these people that it's okay to use violence to shut someone up when you don't like what they're saying. And that is not what this country is about.
Wait a minute. He walked
up there and slapped somebody and took violence to him because he didn't like what he said. That ain't cool, man.
Well, I think you're putting a lot of aggression into that comment and not staying a little neutral. Now, I'm quite sure all of us have I wouldn't say always. Everyone has been to a point that they've had that feeling that I've had enough.
Oh yeah.
And yes, we've all made mistakes. And from my understanding that, Chris Rock and Will Smith and Jada, they've always had this kind of like uneasiness between them all. And so it's been going on for years. Now I'm not saying what he did is right. You're correct. Violence. I mean, even Richard James, the guy he portrayed, won the Oscar for, told him that wasn't right. You only use violence for self-defense. And so, and then to turn around and use it like as an excuse because he was trying to protect his family. I mean, that's not the case. Yeah. But I mean, but we also have to remember, like we've said all through the night, is that he's at a tipping point. He resulted in violence, but he's not a violent person. And I think to aggressively say that he's just shown everyone that violence is that we've all made mistakes. We've got to learn to accept that.
Oh, thank you.
And all that stuff.
I'm glad
I just
you
think
pointed that out.
your anger at that situation, I think, was maybe adding a little sense of, maybe, I don't even know, ferocity to what happened when this is a man that basically I think we're all agreeing is probably at a tipping point, and he chose the wrong path, made a mistake, and we've all made mistakes in our past.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, you're still alive. You're going to make one.
Yeah.
Whether it's slapping someone in public, or making maybe some type of inappropriate comment when you didn't mean to hurt someone's feelings. You didn't mean to. It's going to happen.
Oh, absolutely.
It's how you respond to your mistakes that I think set the precedent. So,
Well, and I'm glad you point that out, because and part of it is I'm very disappointed. I mean,
yes.
they might as well have wheeled Phil Collins or Prince or Morris Day up there and done the same thing. I mean, or like as far I mean, I've been a huge fan of Will Smith. I mean, pre-Fresh Prince. I mean, I've been a fan since his first album, Rock the House, came out, right?
Yeah.
Watched him grow as an actor on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I mean, and you can, if you watch that, if you binge that show, which is on HBO Max, thank you, I'm waiting for the check. You can watch him grow as an actor, as a performer. Then you had Bad Boys, and you had ID4, you had I Am Legend. I mean, I was pulling for him to win this year just because there are times that he didn't win that I thought he should have. Like Pursuit of Happiness, I think he should have won for that, but he didn't. There were times he should have been nominated that he wasn't. Like, I'll go to the mat and say he should have been nominated for his performance in I Am Legend. I wanted that to be his year. That scene in the video store when he's by himself talking to that mannequin, I'm like, he just won an Oscar. Nope, didn't do it. So, for me, even though I have not seen that film, I wanted to. I just haven't gotten. I'm like, man, I want this to be his year. But that year is now forever tarnished.
Yep.
As well as for every other winner. And he will, I don't think he'll ever outrun this. I mean, like, for example, I have no desire right now to watch Bad Boys, ID4, I Am Robot, or I Am Legend, I Robot. I have no desire to watch any of that stuff.
Right.
And I Am Robot. That's one that's a script he turned down.
Yeah.
And my thing,
I have to kind of, it's a little bit of a throwback, and I was reading about this, and I'm sorry, I feel like we're talking, and Goldar, please jump in.
I'm gonna shut up for 5 minutes.
Dude, that's gonna be a miracle. Y'all set that damn clock.
8:59. I won't talk until 9:04.
Dude, that ain't gonna happen. I can tell you. You better mute that mic, because you're gonna chime in. That's what I thought. That's the only way he'll talk. We just won't hear him. But so I don't remember the year, but basically a female actress won Oscar for her performance in a movie, and during her acceptance speech basically made the comment of basically she didn't want her people seen in a certain way or something to that effect. I can't remember the verbiage, but it irked John Wayne to the point that he actually rushed the stage and tried to physically attack her, and security had to stop it. There were other people there in the audience that were embarrassed by her comments as well, that basically I think some vanities were shouted and stuff like that. And so this isn't the first time that we've seen violence occur at an event. And I think we can get over it. I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword in a sense that I think we have kind of an accepting community where we have learned to kind of forgive, but we're also like, you're Will Smith, you're not supposed to do that. And so I don't know. I think he can get past it. I think he's going to suffer for this for a while. But I think there will be eventually someone that will give him the chance for redemption, and he'll have a breakout moment. So let's go with Narwhal. What are your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I have to wonder if maybe he has some other issues too. We don't know if he had any kind of alcohol prior to the show or during the show. We don't know if there were other illicit substances involved. And normally I would have said it's Will Smith, of course not. But now you don't know. Yeah. Because you never thought Will Smith would have been, capable of doing something like this, and we were all obviously very, very wrong. We talk about how his public image is so carefully crafted, and how he sort of was this a sort of person to look up to. And so now we have to go, okay, maybe this is just a public persona that he's crafted. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that somebody had really pulled the wool over everyone's eyes in terms of, who they present to be and who they really are in real life, and it's one of those things that, is it true? I hope not, but now he's introduced the possibility that, maybe we've all been wrong all these years. It's just one of those things that, he's not only, cast a pall over the Oscars. I mean, he's really cast a pall over his entire career legacy.
Goldar, what do you think?
I mean, I think this will be something that we can get over, or we should get over, partially to a degree. One, it's, as far as we're aware, Will Smith is not a physically abusive person. It appears this moment was very much a situation where he just snapped under some pressure that we aren't aware of. And I mean, let's be honest, as America as a culture, we glorify violence a lot. We always get weird about like gay issues or sex and things like that, but then when it comes to gratuitous violence, we're all about shooting kinds of movies and having gun shows and shooting this and shooting that. So I'm like, somebody just slapped on a stage, I'm like, we'll be okay. We gonna be all right. There's a war on the other side of the planet right now.
Yep.
Where real people are dying. I think we'll be okay.
I think Will Smith smacking somebody. I think we can get past that, and let's focus a little bit on some other bigger issues and stuff. But good point. Good point.
Yeah, but I think it is going to be tough for Will Smith, though, as far as like his reputation after this point, because it is not okay to go up there and slap somebody in live television. I think people are gonna probably be on eggshells a lot around him as far as like who works with him or who wants to work with him. Yep. Because what's going to happen in a non-public situation where he just may lose it. Like we have no idea. I mean, we've heard stories. We just talked about a week or 2 weeks ago about Christian Bale like going off and like screaming at some poor intern or somebody working on the set of the Terminator movie, and
Tom
just all
Cruise
these other
has also had some outbursts that they've got audio and stuff like during Mission Impossible films.
Yeah. So I think this is going to be a tough one for him to live down, behind the scenes. But as far as like, I think we'll be able to move past this. It'll be yesterday's news. But people are already making tons of jokes about it. I mean, even
there's tons of memes.
Oh,
I mean, even
in million memes just were born.
Even in our thumbnail, somebody drew that. Like somebody else drew that, and I just clicked it into our thumbnail. So I mean, it's in a very absurd situation that just happened in the blink of an eye, and we're all just looking at each other like, WTF?
By the way, I made my time. By the way,
Yep.
A couple of things, and I want to I didn't say it very good. I think Will's going to have a hard time outrunning this. I think the pup, like, I think back to when, you guys just brought up Tom Cruise. When did he act out and jump up and down on Oprah's couch? When was like the early odds? Y'all remember that?
Yeah, early odds.
Okay,
yeah.
That really pissed my wife off, and I was like, okay. And there was a while when I didn't want to watch, much like what I just said about some Will Smith movie. There was a time I didn't want to have anything to do with Tom Cruise. But you know what? I eventually got over it. I mean, I've waxed eloquently and philosophically many times on this show about how my love for Oblivion and Live, Die, Repeat, and I love all the Mission Impossible movies, But at the same time, here's the thing: whenever I watch Tom Cruise now, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of worried that, and I guess I'm most mad because I was such a huge Will Smith fan. Mm-hmm. It's like, damn it, dude! Now it's just not going to be the same.
Now, I will have to say that I want to throw a shout out to Denzel Washington and his handling of Will after that. And I don't know if anyone's ever, I never heard the video, but I understand from what I understand that he gave Will's he's like, you got to watch it when you're at your highest. That's when the devil will come for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, what a powerful statement right there to kind of snap, someone back into like, you realize what you just did, right? And so
It was Denzel, it was Tyler Perry, and it was
Brad Cooper.
Bradley Cooper, who sort of pulled him aside and sort of got him calmed down and sort of gave him that reality check that you done stepped in it.
Right.
Well, and that's the thing that I think the press has done a disservice. They were saying they were seen comforting Mr. Smith. Like, whoa, don't say that. They weren't comforting him. They took him to the woodshed. But the uninformed people are going to say comforting. Why weren't they comforting Chris freaking Rock? He got bitch slapped on worldwide television, And by the way, I will remind people of probably most people too young to remember this. Gary Busey had a motorcycle accident in the late 80s, early 90s, I think when it was. Had a head injury. People didn't know if he was going to survive. Well, Gary came back. I mean, he's never been
fully right.
Right. But there was an Oscar moment where Robin Williams was on stage and he saw Gary Busey. Hey, Gary, how you doing? Gary Busey did not get up and run up on stage and bitch slap Robin Williams. Okay. but
you don't know if Gary Busey got that joke either. And I was like, that's not really the same.
You're right. But then there's
Gary
also
was probably like,
well, and there's a couple of other conversations to have, and maybe this isn't the show to do it on, but the first one is, would Mr. Smith's reaction have been the same had that joke been delivered by The Rock instead of Chris Rock?
I think there have been some second thoughts. Damn Jada, I'm not.
And then and a lot of people are going on about why wasn't he escorted from the building, and I've seen some articles. But the other thing is, what do you think the public's reaction would have been had Russell Crowe or Jack Nicholson run up on stage and done that? We'd be having a whole different. I mean, there wouldn't be no damn memes. I mean, this would be.
I think there'd still be memes. I'm sorry. In today's society, there's a meme without no matter what.
I got you. But I'm just saying it would be.
I appreciate what you're saying. Yeah, we probably wouldn't be laughing at it as much. There'd be memes, but it probably wouldn't be as funny. And I think a lot of people would open it up as some kind of social commentary. Is like, did you see this white man slap this black man on the stage?
And here's something I want to point out, and maybe, and I think we need to let Goldar have the last word on this, because I follow Robert Meyer Burnett on YouTube. He's got all kinds of connections, and he was watching it. They had like this YouTube watch party they were doing for the Oscars, and one was like, holy shit, did Will Smith just slap Chris Rock? But you're not watching the show, you're watching them watch the show, and they're like, oh, hey, we're gonna give the documentary awards, and they're like, and Chris Gore is on there. He's like, oh, hey, I saw these three, and I hope either one of these could win. Holy shit, and that's what they all leaned over. Well, during that time, or after it all kind of settled, and I didn't even think about this until Burnett pointed this out. He's got several really close friends in the industry that are people of color, and they text him and they said, "Oh my God!" And he's like, "I know." He said, "No, dude, you don't understand." He said, "We just saw on worldwide TV one black man assault another black man as he was getting ready to give an award on a documentary made by a black man about the black experience. What the fuck?" And I'm like, oh man, I mean, where do we even go from there? So I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah, it's there's a lot to definitely unpack there about that. Just from my perspective, when I heard about the slap, I was really hoping it was a joke, because I'm like, well, this is not good for anybody's career, and also like just not good from really just from a honestly thoughtless stereotypical perspective, because there's always this thing about what about black on black crimes, and it's like, yeah, that's really not a thing. Like it's not. It's like people on people crimes, because if you really look at it, like black people are 16% of the U.S. population approximately, right? So there's a larger majority of white people in America. We can all agree on that. Nobody's ever said white on white crimes, and it happens every day.
That was celebrity on celebrity crime is what we saw.
Right. Right. But the immediate thought people will have is like, well, this is why we have black on black crimes. And it's like, no, it's like, oh God. Yeah. So I was a bit frustrated seeing that happen, because I was like, oh, come on. But at the same time, it's kind of like, it's frustrating to be frustrated, because you have to be frustrated because that's what other people are going to immediately think. It's like, this really shouldn't be a thing that, like, I'm frustrated that other people are going to think this.
Well, why do you think
it's a dumb idea.
Why do you think I brought up the idea that, oh, thank God this wasn't Jack Nicholson or Russell Crowe?
Exactly.
It's the same. It's a flip side of the same coin. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
and then to look at it also from the perspective of the fact that, these are celebrities doing it, and if this was just two random people in the street, we would again be having a completely different conversation. That just the fact that you have these celebrities, which in a lot of ways in America, celebrities have a different standard, in terms of, not only what we're willing to tolerate, but just for the general rules of society too. So.
Oh, yeah. And again, I said we were going to be done with this, but
all right, we got everybody.
Yeah, we're,
a few more minutes. We're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, I think so. I think we are. No, I'm done. I'm done.
We got happier topics. So
exactly.
Round the board, starting with Geek Boy. Final comments on the slapper heard around the world.
Again, I don't think will personally ever outrun this. I think people will get over it, like a lot of people said. I think we'll find joy in watching the Fresh Prince again. But I do like what Goldar said, that is Will all right? Because this just, unlike another celebrity who we chose not to talk about tonight, this is not a pattern of behavior. Okay, honestly, we tabled another conversation that we're going to have, because and that dude is a pattern of behavior, and this is not. So again, I feel bad for Chris Rock. I feel bad for Will. I feel bad for everybody involved. And again,
all right, time's up. We're moving on.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mr. Narwhal, final comments on the slap heard around the world.
Yeah, I just even beyond the main people involved, I feel sorry for everyone else who's been affected by this, by the people who won awards, after this happened with Will Smith. Their wins are now forever sort of tainted by this as well. And then, when you look at, like, for example, he's executive producing Bel Air. What's going to happen with that show? Are we going to see a diminishing interest in a project that he's obviously not starring in it, but it's inextricably tied to his legacy and to his character? There are massive impacts to people that are not named Smith or Rock.
Goldar, close us out, man. Final thoughts on the slapper around the world.
Yeah, I just I think we'll be able to get through this collectively. Like, we'll get over it. We'll move past this situation and forget about it, and we'll make jokes about it. I hope everybody close to Will checks in on him, make sure that he's truly doing okay, because right now is a particularly vulnerable time for him over the last few years, especially now that he's in the spotlight for something very particularly negative. But anytime somebody says something you don't like, attacking them is not okay. You can have social discourse, of course, but that wasn't the appropriate measure to take. I just hope that Will gets the help that he needs, if he needs it, and that he will be able to move on from this and continue a profitable and healthy career. But also, I hope he continues to be real with this too. Like, be honest and open with us about what's going on with you. You don't need to do any facade anymore. Like, we're in 2020, the decade where, we're spilling the tea.
Yeah.
So it's just be real with us.
Awesome. Thanks everyone's comments on that and everything.
Yeah.
So, but I think it is definitely time to move on to some more lively, more fun topics.
Top for damn sure. Whoever had the idea to ditch the Ezra Miller story, kudos. You get a raise. I'm gonna double your salary, Mr. Narwhal. So here's the thing.
I can't wait till we get to that though.
Oh my God,
on that guy.
Oh my God. Shit.
Anyway, all right. So,
All right,
so
here
who
we
are we
go.
going with first?
All right, here's a. I've got to step away for a minute, and since I've not seen Halo, why don't you guys go on that, and I will be right back.
All right. So let's kick this out. So Narwhal, Goldar, both of you guys have seen Halo, correct?
I have not seen Halo. No.
Okay. All right. So Goldar, have you seen?
So I saw Halo.
All right. Now, has it
I,
only been the first episode drop or the second episode dropped yet?
I think the second one's already come out yet. I haven't had a chance to watch the second one yet.
Neither
But I did watch the first one last week.
Yep.
And man, is this show surprisingly beautiful, but also surprisingly gory too. I was like, oh, I like that. Again, I'm in America. I like gratuitous violence. What can I say?
When Quan walked up and smacked. Oh, I'm sorry. We're on that thought talking. But no, go ahead. Please continue.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a really cool first episode introduction to the Silver Team, Master Chief, and all the Spartans, and our first look at the Covenant, because I was really concerned about how the Covenant would look, bringing them to life to this television show, and because I didn't really know what kind of budget that Paramount was working on or working with when making this show, so it was kind of like. This is not a Disney Plus show, you know. It doesn't have that Disney movie or Disney money rather. So I didn't really know how it was going to go, but it was fantastic. I really enjoyed what they showed us, and it was there's a lot of intrigue based on the story. I'm kind of curious as to where it goes.
So now I know that one of the big controversies around this show is around the character of Master Chief and the fact that for the first time in franchise history that you are able to see him without his helmet, a la Mandalorian. In the first episode, is this true? And secondly, what's your feelings on this topic?
Yeah, it is true that we do see him without his helmet, which by the way is played by Pablo Schreiber. I always pronounce his brother's first name wrong. Liev Schreiber. Is his brother, popular actor. Was in Scream 3, played Sabretooth in X-Men Origins Wolverine. If anybody watched that.
And Pablo, he's actually been on a lot of TV shows, like the Law and Order series and stuff like that. I mean, not like I don't think like a series regular, but he's been in a lot of one-off shows and stuff like that. So
yeah, and he's also been rumored to be somebody that Marvel was looking at to play Wolverine as well. So it was. I'm not offended by it because, at the end of the day, like I played so many Halo games, I'm just like, just take your helmet off already. Like I mean. You've already given us the suspense over 15 years now. We still don't know what you look like.
Right.
It doesn't bother me. Like I don't really.
No, I'm sorry, I wasn't here. Obviously, is there an in-game because I have never played the game? Is there an in-game reason why he doesn't take his helmet off?
Honestly, if not as far as I can remember.
Okay.
I think it's just always been like kind of a Mandalorian kind of thing where he just never takes it off.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also
fine.
to do with his armor and his comms with the AI Cortana and stuff. There's a lot of dialogue that goes on during the game that basically that interfacing is occurring with. And so, but yeah, you're right. I don't recall any reason why he's never been able to take it off. I'll echo what you said, that the show is stunning. I mean, I don't know what kind of budget they had, but whatever they had, they used it well, because I mean, the Covenant looks totally awesome. The armor looks great. And then even the CGI elements and stuff like that. Like one of the things that caught me is that there's a scene where basically he picks up the huge Gatling, the whole Vulcan minigun and everything, and he's walking with it and stuff like that. And then it was weird that I caught on this, but you see him when he's done, when he goes to drop it, he just doesn't drop it. He actually does a little hip bump to throw it off to make sure it clears him. And it was that attention to detail that impressed me so much, because you just can't drop something that large that's not going to scrape right down the side of you and wreck your armor. I would say the and again, this is kind of spoiler. So if you're watching and you haven't watched it and don't want to hear it, I was a little, I don't know, I don't even know the word I want to use, but a little miffed in the sense that it felt very Mandalorian how he's picked up Quan as his sidekick. It seems like they're going down. He now has this young orphan that he's going to be carrying around with him for a while. They have a ship that they're able to go planet to planet. He's got the armor and all that. I don't know. It just felt very Mandalorian-ish, but it was stunning. And then the only other thing that I wasn't a big fan of is there was, I think, too many cutscenes where they took you inside his helmet and let you view through his visor and you saw the HUD and everything. And I thought that was, first time it was kind of cool just because it kind of threw a shout out to the game. But after the third time, I was like, what's really the necessary here to see the HUD display on a live action movie? To me, I didn't see what element or value it brought to it, other than kind of reminding like, hey, we're a video game and we made this show. And to me, all the past failed attempts of trying to make Halo, I would kind of like, let's kind of keep away from any game references, try to make this kind of, kind of realish and let's really pull him into the movie and not so much of a video game. But other than that, I thought it was a really good first episode. I look forward to the second one. And again, the special effects are phenomenal.
All right. Well, I'm here to recommend from both of you guys then.
Yep. Oh, and yeah. I mean, even the weapons and stuff like that. I mean, the light sword and all that stuff looked great. And you're right. The gore that goes on for this is woo. Yeah.
I think I heard that somewhere. Yeah.
It hit you in the face like very early. And I mean, and what I was about to say, and what kills me, and it's like, no pun intended. I mean, the first time you're introduced to it, it's a bunch of teenage kids getting taken down, and I mean, like, badly.
Some kids get his head's blown off like pretty quickly. Dang. And like you see the blood splatter, and you're like, oh yeah, this is that kind of show.
Okay.
Juan like gets like a blood like splatter all over her face, and I mean, she walks the show with that thing because she's in shock and doesn't even think about wiping it. But I mean, like, you're seeing legs get blown off, and I mean, like, I was like, damn, all right, we going real here. So, but anyway, no, I said I would, if you have the opportunity to watch it, you don't have to really be a Halo knowledgeable to enjoy it. I was talking to one of my kids, and I totally forgot, but apparently it's not in the timeline sequence of the video game, because basically the Covenant, it wouldn't be just attacking us now. There's like a whole other storyline and all that stuff around that. So we're not even really following the video game timeline, if you will, to the show. So I guess it's going to be a multiverse turnout or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. From what I understand, I think the writers like haven't played the game at all, so they don't know the storyline. So I had some real anxiety and apprehension going into it, because I'm like, well, this is going to either be interesting or it's going to be really, really bad.
Yeah.
But then I was like, well, it's not Sony that's making this, so I'm gonna have to get my digs in. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I like Sony cameras. They make great cameras. They just don't make great Spider-Man movies. That's all.
They make good cameras. They just don't know how to use them very well to make shows.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, didn't they make Spider-Man Into the Multiverse?
Yeah, that's true.
They did.
Yeah,
they did really good. They did really good on that one. You got to give them one. Put that one dig back in there. You're good. One back.
Man, you thought I had it in for modern Star Trek. Damn.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna let this one go. I can't wait till we do the review for Morbius.
Ooh, boy. Ooh.
Man, I don't know how we're going to, because at this point, the way I'm hearing the reviews, I don't know if you want to go watch the damn thing.
I suffered through Venom when nobody else would.
I was going to say, I'm going to get a barbecue going back over there. we gonna cook this movie out.
We're gonna send Goldar to go see it. We're gonna do him like with the eyeballs in Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork Orange.
We're gonna stream that directly into his cerebellum there.
And here's the thing, we're following the interwebs talk that the movie's bad. We don't know. None of us have seen it. We don't know. But
it's not part of our original programming tonight. We're just spitballing right now. If you guys haven't picked up on it, shocking, right? Shocking.
yeah. But it'd be really. But there's two kinds of bad movies. There's bad movies, and there's a bad movie. It's like, man, there's a great movie, and you're struggling to get out. And assuming it's bad, which we don't know, but we've read a lot of things to say it might be. I wonder which one it'll be.
Yeah.
Well, I've got an idea.
I'm getting the feeling this is definitely like a matinee.
Man, that knock at your door might be the Viking Slayer. You better watch out.
We need to do a special where each of us just picks our favorite movie to just crucify like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would be great.
I don't know what that would be. I just don't know.
I do. Anyway, I do. Let's get on with the other.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. So with that,
we have one more topic left, or one more scripted topic left tonight.
Exactly.
And that is, we've all finally. I think everybody's got a chance to see Moon Knight. Is that right?
No, I have.
You haven't
yet. No.
Oh,
I had
man.
I'm sorry, I'm working, bro. When did it drop? Did it drop last night?
Last night.
Yeah, last night. I watched it at lunch today.
I did not realize it was last night, or I would have watched it. But anyway,
man. Yeah, I think Marvel's doing their shows every Wednesday now instead of Fridays.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought they were doing them Thursdays.
They're running scared from Star Trek Picard. Anyway, so
how many digs you gonna do on that show, man? Come on now.
You know what? I really enjoyed the first three episodes.
Hey, Geek, well, listen to this.
It was a Star Trek Picard joke. Okay, so I'm gonna say this. This is a character I know nothing about. Like I've never read the Moon Knight comic, never read his book, never read books that he's shown up in, and not because of lack of interest. I've just it's like anything else. There's only so many you can read. There's only so many shows you can watch. There's only so many movies you can see, and still get your real world stuff done, right? And so I asked somebody. This will tell you how misguided this person's answer was to me. I said, "So who is Moon Knight?" Like, well, he's kind of like Marvel's Batman. I'm like, oh, okay, and just kind of went on down the road. There is so much more to this character than that, and I am really, really intrigued by what I saw. I mean, I was really happy with it. So, I've heard some people say they wish they would have seen the same episode, only it was 30 minutes instead of 45. You know what? Whatever. That's potato. Oscar Isaac did fantastic. I
heard he had really some reservations on taking this role due to his, the huge, like really bad fallout from the X-Men experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was the other one he was in? Not the Eternals.
Star Wars, obviously.
Star Wars
right.
Fallout and all that. He was really like apprehensive on taking this role. So.
Oh, I bet. Hopefully this means we won't see Apocalypse again. But still,
how we could. At least not by him.
Maybe I don't know, multiverse, right?
Multiverse. But no, I dug this thing, and there are serious horror elements in this thing, and as it should be, probably. I guess I've heard there's been a lot of different iterations of this character, even though the character has had a short life compared to a lot of other Marvel characters. But
so I guess before you
there's
go
multiple iterations of it, and I think that's what we're seeing in the show.
So I mean, the Narwhal or Goldar, do you guys know any maybe origin background on Moon Knight that you could maybe share with the audience if they're unfamiliar?
So Moon Knight is a character that originally came out, I want to say, in the 70s. He was sort of envisioned as a little bit of a Batman analog mixed with a sort of a James Bondish kind of bent to
really?
it. Originally in the comics, his alters weren't not actually alters; they were just different identities that Mark Spector would assume, sort of like with Batman and not only Bruce Wayne, but like Matches Malone and some of those kinds of identities that he would take in order to either infiltrate or to get information from different places. And I want to say it was Marv Wolfman in the 80s who actually brought the idea of the DID, the dissociative identity disorder, to the character, and really took it to the next level there. That really sort of is what, really cemented that character's story and background in a lot of people's minds.
Okay.
Goldar, do you have any additional comments, man?
Yeah, so I actually pulled him up here on Wikipedia, and just like Mr. Narwhal was saying, he did appear August in 1975. His first appearance was in Werewolf by Night, which is another character that's been rumored to appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe very soon. Yeah, it's exactly what Mr. Narwhal was saying. I think with this iteration of Moon Knight, I think Disney and Marvel are going to get away from any kind of mental health association organizations really beating this one to death, because there's a lot of supernatural elements to the show, and his dissociative identity disorder, I think they're going to play that as an aspect of that, right, in such a way that it's not going to be, oh, Disney is just, trying to demonize like people that have these disorders, and this is terrible. Yeah. We mom's against drunk driving. We can't have this.
Yeah. Now, if I remember correctly, and again, I could be totally wrong here, wasn't originally his original iteration was just him kind of in a costume with all these gadgets. It wasn't until later that they brought in the kind of like mystical background that that's how he got
more or less
his powers and stuff. So he was more kind of like like I said, when we say he was the Batman in his first iteration, he was all about his ankas as his fighting daggers, if you will, and gadgets on the belt. It wasn't until later that he actually got the kind of the imbued abilities from the moon god. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I would love to see if they could ever arrange it is like him fighting Thor, like they did in the comic books. Because so spoiler alert here. So Moon Knight being imbued by the power of the god of moon. I can't remember the name of him.
Khonshu.
Khonshu. Thank you.
Gesundheit.
Yes. So apparently, he can control the Uru that makes Mew Mew. And so literally he can control Thor's hammer. So there's a comic book series where he's in a battle with Thor, and he literally just stops. Thor throws the hammer at him and literally stops it in midair, and Thor can't pull it back because he's controlling the actual material of that of the hammer. So I was like, man, that would be pretty cool to see on the big screen, or I don't know, maybe the little screen in kind of a small battle there. But
I'm not gonna lie, I got a serious Spawn vibe out of this too.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I really sort of noticed when I watched it was, out of all of the Marvel shows that we've seen so far, this is the one to me that has seemed most like a graphic novel so far. Mm-hmm. I mean, just in this 45-minute episode, it really felt like one of those old, ones from like the 40s and 50s, where they were a little bit more horror themed as opposed to superhero. Really this almost could have been a Tales from the Crypt kind of episode, not just a Marvel show.
I think the story that IT Geek was referencing is The Age of Khonshu. This was a story that came out, I think it's either 2020 or 2019, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
It's a very, very recent story.
It's a very recent story. Yeah.
Yes, it's a very recent story.
Right.
It was cool. Like he basically like he handed out fades to the entire Avengers team like they were in a barber shop.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you know, in the other comics that he's done during the 80s and 90s, you know, his character has been very involved in that mystical side of the Marvel universe, and it's really sort of been a examination of, you know, what happens when the being that gives you your powers and gives you your marching orders, for lack of a better term, winds up becoming your enemy, you know. And it looks to me like maybe they're starting to play with that a little bit here in terms of Khonshu, you know, being much more dismissive of Stephen Grant and Mark Spector's characters out there. I think that, you know, this could be a really interesting. Well, it's really interesting because, you know, for the longest time, you know, we've always had superheroes with secret identities that are secret to everyone else. This is the first time that we've had a superhero with a secret identity that's secret to himself.
Oh,
Yeah. It's kind of a neat take, actually.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
How many? Do we know how many episodes this season or series is getting?
I believe
don't-
it's 6 episodes.
Okay.
6 episodes.
Sounds
That's a
about
good
right.
count, because anything longer might you know, I've been very vocal. In fact, a lot of these shows, and especially the Netflix shows, kind of overstay their welcome a little bit. 6 episodes, man, that'll be good. If they're all 6 of this quality, then we're in for a treat. I mean, I know, Reverend, you haven't seen it yet, but there's a scene. It's actually been released online where he's in an elevator
Mhm.
and he's trying to get on. And dude, it's almost like a horror film. I mean, it's some James Wan Conjuring stuff. You know,
Nice.
it's really good. It was very impressive. I was really happy with it. So
I'm also really interested because Ethan Hawke is in the show as well, and he appears to be playing the main protagonist in this show, Arthur Harrow. But Mr. Narwhal referenced like a few weeks back that there were rumors going around that he actually might be Dracula.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of curious if that's still going to play a role, or if he really is some kind of supernatural, like demon-esque or vampiric type character that leads into Werewolf by Night, or may even lead into Blade.
Mhm.
Right.
yeah, that'd be cool.
Well,
I
the,
think.
the thing too that I saw originally was that in one of the trailers that they did, he was in a truck, and there was a box behind him in the truck that said Von D. And a lot of people had thought that perhaps this was going to be Victor Von Doom and his introduction. And in the episode, you see the truck, and it's not Von Doom, it's Von Doofenshmirtz or something like that. But
That's up there with
there's a
Ralph Boner.
possibility that this is sort of a way to sort of ease people into thinking about that, especially considering there's a significant portion of the episode that takes place in a unnamed Eastern European country that
Latveria?
could potentially be Latveria.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, because this whole show takes place in England, so it's really not that far
That's right.
from, from where
Oh,
that
that'd
is.
be cool.
And this also takes place, if I'm remembering this correctly, Stephen Grant actually works at a museum that's down the street from where some scenes from the Eternals took place.
Oh wow.
So it's that
Hmm.
close to
Oh,
that.
okay.
And then of course, you know, we saw the Black Knight, you know, played by Kit Harington in the Eternals,
Right.
and then also the post-credit scene that had Blade. So we might get a Midnight Suns kind of thing going on over in Europe. You know, while Doctor Strange is out in you know, the U.S. still, New York.
Right.
From what I understand, there was an article that came out the other day that said that Marvel is trying to move away from New York in the MCU.
I bet New York's freaking happy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, all those people traumatized. Like, who would want to live in New York after all of that?
You know, I used to joke, who the hell wants to be the mayor of Gotham? You know?
Do you think? Do you think they'll even start looking at maybe the Excalibur team?
Potentially.
You know,
I mean,
think,
because that's a cross between mutants and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably coming really, really soon as well. Like, there's so many teams that are like
Yeah.
forming in the background that they're
Mhm.
just like very publicly putting it in our face, and I'm like, which one are you gonna
Yeah, which one are you gonna
assemble?
do? Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Plus,
Um,
you've got people like Pete Wisdom, and you have newly introduced teams. Like there's this one called the Union, which is a group of British superheroes that are actually super villains in disguise that are being reformed, almost like a Thunderbolts type of situation.
Well, and let's not
So, I mean,
forget.
there's a lot of different potential there
Mhm.
for characters and for stories that take place in that area.
Well, and
Yep.
like I say, let's not forget that we also had, speaking of teams forming in the background, we had Julia Louis Dreyfus in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Mhm.
And I her character's name escapes me. She's the one that puts the Dark Avengers together, doesn't she? Valentina, yeah.
Valentina de
Valentina.
Fontaine.
I think she I think you're right. I think she did do, it was either Dark Avengers or she was involved in Dark Reign, which basically had like Doctor Doom and um Osborn.
Yeah,
Oh,
for the
okay.
longest
Green
time
Goblin,
she was
Yeah.
a character that sort of was a contemporary of the old Nick Fury back from the 60s, and she
the
was
David Hasselhoff one.
a person of some prominence in Shield that was actually a Hydra mole at various points. And you know, I don't know that we're going to see her go specifically down that path, but she is, to me, sounding like she's a lot of the anti Nick Fury, as it were.
Yeah.
I think the Hydra thing is definitely played out. So to go back to it, I think is too
Yeah.
many visits to the well. I think
Yeah.
I think she can easily build a Dark Avengers and start building that storyline and not have to reference Hydra. I mean, I think there's enough material there.
I would like to see her start Hammer, which is
Oh yeah.
a rival organization to Shield.
Shield.
Yep.
That was started by a number of villains, and this also plays significantly into the Dark Avengers storyline.
Well,
Yeah.
and there's the rumor that's going around that Justin Hammer is coming back for
Yep.
Armor Wars.
Yep.
Oh, I love that.
I,
Best freaking character in Iron Man 2, man.
I thought Iron Man 2 was a great movie.
I loved it.
I think
I loved Iron Man too. I don't know what
Yeah.
anyone's having problems about it.
Okay, so, go ahead, Goldar. Then I'm
Yeah,
going
I
to
was gonna
defend that
say
movie
he's-
too.
yeah, Justin Hammer was the best thing that was coming out of the early parts of the MCU. So I was kind of sad to see him shuffled away and he was just gone. So
Yeah.
if he comes back and he forms Hammer
That'd be
with
awesome.
with her, I feel like that
That'd be
could
cool.
be like a big deal, like a
Yeah.
big deal for Earth-based Marvel heroes to tackle. And then, you know, then we have our space threats that they're building at the same time, which is what Kevin Feige told us. He told us that, you know, these next couple of phases, they're going to be Earth-based threats, and then there's going to be galactic threats at the same time.
That's the secret invasion and everything.
Mhm.
Secret Invasion. We got the
Well, and we know
Celestials.
that's coming. We know that's coming.
We know that what's his name? Warlock is coming.
Mhm.
Orlok, yep.
Yeah, we know he's coming in Guardians 3. We know that
Adam Warlock. Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Adam Warlock. We know that Gore the God Butcher is coming in Thor.
Mhm.
Like these galactic, and we know Galactus is coming.
Yeah.
We're getting
Oh, it's gotta
Fantastic
be.
Four.
Yeah.
There's
After
no
the
way.
Internals and with the introduction, yeah, I mean, I think there's just no way you could do what you did with Eternals, and you're ending this phase with Fantastic Four and it not be Galactus. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys, dude, I'm telling you, Marvel, if you fuck this up,
Well, it's-
Dude, dog,
I-
You know, here's the thing. I would challenge those who, you know, there's not a lot of love for Iron Man 2 out there on the interwebs for sure. I would challenge people when you watch it, and I never hated it. I didn't think it was as good a film as Iron Man. But when you go back and you watch it now, in perspective of the entire MCU, there's a lot going on in that movie. The weakest thing was they didn't give me the whiplash that I wanted. Okay. Everything like Justin Hammer was arguably the best villain in the damn movie. You know, I mean, he was great. And I'm wondering if we're going to see I wonder if people are going to feel that way about Eternals and some of these other things, you know, 10 years from now, like, man, watch Eternals. There's a lot going on in that. But, you know, I mean, I don't know.
I have a
Yeah.
question I wanted to post to the panel and everything. Is that okay? So after No Way Home, the government has seized all the Stark assets and stuff like that due to the attack and everything like that. Do you think, even though Peter's been totally, no one remembers who Peter Parker is, all that still went down? So that means Stark Industries pretty much almost tanked. So what better way to do that for seeing Sam Rockwell, aka Justin Hammer, come back and start
good.
Hammer? I mean, like they've literally, if you're not paying attention, right there, I think they just laid the doormat out for freaking Justin Hammer to come back
Well,
and
and
start
we know
Hammer.
he's a government contractor. He could easily get his hands on the stuff.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So
I forget what he was making. He like, well, let me just get the real thing then.
Exactly.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm just kind of, that's what I saw in that film. I don't know if you guys picked up on that, or if maybe that was something you gleaned from there. But to me, I was like, that was like the doormat. They say, "Hey, Justin Hammer, welcome back."
Wow.
That's what I saw. So anyway, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Did you maybe get the same vibe, or am I just kind of being weird?
No, I think you're correct in that. The only thing I'm just curious about is how that'll play into Ironheart. Because I mean, we know that she gets her hands on Stark Tech as well, and essentially builds her own Iron Man suit. So I'm curious on how that aspect plays a role. Maybe she's an intern at Hammer, or maybe some kind of intern at some kind of government agency, and she starts work on robotics and things like that.
She could have been a protege at Stark Industry when it fell, and basically got introduced, got a job over it there. She stumbles onto it, kind of like a Lucius Fox gets put to the underground, and she starts kind of just tinkering and playing with what she can get her hold of Stark Industry, and boom, Ironheart. So, but anyway, Narwhal, you got any thoughts on that, man?
I don't know. I think you guys pretty much covered it there.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess Geek Boy, what you got any more comments, or what do we think? We're about done for the evening?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I'm just jazzed. Moon Knight was good. Like I say, when you go into these ones,
we were talking about Moon Knight.
Yeah, we were. No, we're close to that. No, but it's interesting. It shows what a great job Kevin Feige and these guys have done, that we can start with Moon Knight and work our way all the way back to freaking Iron Man 2.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a lot going on here, and to take a character that, again, I didn't have a lot of knowledge, because keep in mind, this is the first MCU show we've gotten that is a new character, right? Like even Falcon and Winter Soldier, even though the Falcon never had his own movie, we knew who Sam Wilson was. We had an easy doorway into these shows because who Loki is. I mean, we knew who Wanda was. We knew who Vision. All these shows are kind of piggybacking on characters we already knew. Moon Knight, we had nothing.
Right.
I mean, as far as the overall MCU is concerned.
Yep.
Talking about cinematic stuff here. So the fact that and I think that's maybe why this landed so well, is because it actually felt like a legitimate pilot. It really felt like I was watching the premiere episode of a new series. And maybe that's another reason I really enjoyed it, because again, if the other 5 episodes can maintain this quality, they've got me. So,
all right. With that, you ready to sign us off?
I'm ready to sign us off. I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. No matter how long you're here, I want to thank our illustrious panel, Mr. Narwhal, Goldar, the Reverend IT Geek. We're going to, stick around for a new episode of Fanderism Flicks, which is going to drop. We've got a new episode of Nightcrawlers coming, and we're going to have Sci-Fi Friday tomorrow. And tune in this time next week for our next installment of This Fantastic Week for Fanboys 918. I am the Geek Boy, signing off. Peace.